Anyway, so today we have gathered to watch. No, we have not. We have not. Today we have gathered to watch Gothix and Hunter Avalon. If you don't know, I have actually debated Hunter in the past. Right before I was the person that talked to him. Right before Vosh talked to him. Before he ended up coming to the left. He seemed to come around a little bit during our conversation, and the Vosh conversation he had really solidified that. Because we were talking about trans people, because it was right around the time that he had announced that he was going to be a dad, and his I think wife now or girlfriend had their daughter, their first kid. I think they ended up having a second one recently, or she's still pregnant. I can't remember. But anyway, Hunter and I don't talk very much. But I invited him on because I said or he got mad actually. I don't know if I formally invited him on. I might have challenged him, but. Said basically like Hunter's going to be a really terrible dad because he put out another anti-trans thing. This was 3 years ago now, and he really came around. I'm really proud of Hunter. I think he's done a really good job. He did not chase the money. He did not continue the grift, even though he's starting a family, and he went with his sort of what made sense to him. He was an edgy little boy for a while, and he turned into like kind of a decent dude. So he's still a little bit. He's still got a similar personality to what he used to have, and that comes through. I don't think him and I would be like bros in real life, but I can definitely get along with Hunter. I don't think he'd like me back, you know what I mean, in that way. I don't think we vibe, you know what I'm saying? But I can respect him, and I certainly respect, because I'm one of these people. I cannot just lie for money. I can't do it. It drives me fucking crazy. Gothix's face is extra punchable in this one. Well, I'm not going to punch Gothix, but if you want to, that's something that you two can settle. Gothix, on the other hand, if you don't recall, is sort of an edgy content creator. She's sort of a what's the words to use? She's definitely a pick-me. She's kind of like scene emo Candace Owens. It's not just because she's a black person. It's also because of the way that she talks, and you'll sort of get it. And she always has this really shitty grin on her. She's just like the most unfounded, smug person on the internet. And so she's, like, genuinely unlikable. And I don't know that she understands that. Anyway, a while back I made a video on her. She disagreed. And I was like, hey, you want to come have a talk? And she's like, sure, set up a time with me. I set up a time. She offered me to come on to her stream. I was busy, like, while she was saying, like, come on to my stream. It was like while she was live. I'm like, nah, but tomorrow we can do it. And she's like, okay. A little bit of time passed. And then she was like, okay, instead of just talking, I want to do a debate with a moderator. And I was like, I mean, I don't really want to. And then she's like, okay, but I'm going to send you my assistant. And then the assistant's like, okay, so I'm going to moderate this. Her employee, and there was a whole thing on Twitter. So anyway, her employee contacted me and was like, I'm going to moderate this debate. And I'm like, no, the fuck you aren't. What? No, we're just going to have a talk. I don't need her employee to be a moderator. How are you going to be impartial, bruh? So anyway, it wouldn't have been a big deal, honestly, if that person did moderate, if she would have been open to, like, just chilling and, like, talking. Because I don't like formal debate shit. I think it's dumb. We're too self-serious, dude. Let's have a conversation. What questions do you have about my position that you disagree with? I can ask you questions about your positions that I disagree with, and then we can continue. Anyway, they did an impromptu debate here, and this is Hunter and Gothix talking. This is Hunter's stream, so I'm just going to go with his views on this one, give him the click. But so we will see what they have to say. I don't even know what this disagreement was about. I did, but I forgot because your boy got high, so I forgot. So anyway, here's Gothix versus Hunter. We're going to talk about this and do a little debate review.
All right, let me get you on my screen, too. I'm not actually live at the moment. I'm not live till 6, so I wanted to jump on. And in honor of the stream, I am wearing, there you guys go, the Make America Great Again shirt that I literally only was wearing because, like I said, I was going to be going live at 6, threw this one on, and then I just tuned.
And she calls it the grift with Gothix, like, on purpose. You know what I mean? Like, just very annoying person. A very, very annoying person.
Tuned into your guys' stream and hear the other girl saying that I became super emotional, and then, of course, I saw your video today, so I don't know. Where do you want to start? What do you want to talk about?
I want to know what the hell happened. Hold on, Stas, and let me handle this. I want to know what happened because
Why is there why is there another person in this call? It's so weird. Why is she like this? She has her employee in the call.
Searched you beforehand, and I said, okay, this.
Why is she so quiet, by the way? I guess I'll turn it up a little bit for you guys. Give you a little bit more juice on that. I'll turn it up on my end here because she's a little quiet. But
this guy likes to sling shit. So I said, let me go into this, hoping for a nice civil conversation. And at the end of the conversation, I literally told Starson, I said, I don't know what the hell happened, but that went a lot better than what I thought. And then I held my breath. Less than 24 hours later, you got something on TikTok. Look at this conservative something. I don't know.
I mean, it was a funny part. It was a funny clip, and then you accused me.
Can I respond?
Can I also, please? Can I respond?
Absolutely.
Like, what is the personality? It's such a weird personality. Can I respond? Can I respond, please? Like, what are we doing, man? Just have a conversation. Chill. It's so weird. This is how she acted with me privately as well. I don't know. Very odd.
When I'm done talking.
Like, wild.
Okay.
Okay. Do you think you look good in that right now? But okay.
You don't. Okay. This is clearly we're off to a great start. This is.
I mean, you're being super condescending. You say that I don't let you talk, and then you're not letting me talk. So it's just.
Okay. I'm about to mute your ass in a second.
Why? It's so weird. Like, what's with the fragility here?
She's
Whoa,
furious.
Give me a second.
Wow.
All right, let's try it again. Let's take it from the top. We got this. We can figure this out. Here we go. Welcome back. Welcome back, Hunter. Welcome back. You good? You cooled off?
I'm trying to have a conversation with you, and it's rather difficult. But please
it's
continue.
It's hard to have a conversation if you keep interrupting people.
Well, okay. Go ahead. Please continue making your point.
Thank you so much. So, anyways,
does she really think that this makes her look good and like interesting, or like, I don't know, competent? Does she think that this is like her being a competent individual in a debate? She's the God damn it. Did you just say she's the white version of a sassy black lady? Jesus fucking Christ. All right, chat, you're a little savage right now. Wow, that's amazing.
As I was saying, less than 24 hours later.
Jesus fuck. Okay, dude, that was not me.
Together, and you call me a conservative, and that tells me
this is so good right here. This is the only part I saw.
You don't know me. You don't know my positions. You don't know my arguments because I have never.
Hunter does a really good job right here.
Of making YouTube content referred to me as a conservative. So how are you coming to that conclusion, Hunter?
Sure. So based on your video that you made about identity, I have no responsibility to validate your identity or the way that you perceive yourself.
Boom!
Also, you should really not be taking any, confidence in how other people are referring to you. After all, this is.
All right. Can I just 1 second here? One goddamn second. You know the game, chat. You know how it is. There we go. Okay.
Exactly what you said in your video about identity when it came to trans people. You said, it's not my responsibility to validate anyone else's identity or how they perceive themselves.
Yes.
And respect their labels. And I would say the same to you then.
Boom, Hunter.
So I'll call you a conservative or really whatever I want. Because again, what you said is it's no one's responsibility to validate another person. And it's not my responsibility to validate you. Second of all, you lied in your video, or not in your video, but you claimed that I deceptively edited that TikTok when I did not. I simply shortened it down because I can only post 3 minutes, but I watched the full clip first to make sure, and I left out no context. Everything that was shown on TikTok was completely accurate.
Okay, well, that's a lie, but let's go back.
How is it a lie?
I want to touch, hold on, I want to touch
I'll get there.
On the fact that you said it is not my.
Why is there 2 people in the call? Why is there another Gothix? Hey, Gothix, what is going on there? What is with that weird pathology? I don't understand the personality of having like your moderator go, "Oh, I'll bring up the extra points that we were going to do in this debate." Like, what? It doesn't make any sense. It's so weird. It's so weird to have another person be like, I'll make a point for you in a second. Like, this is going to happen is, like, odd. It doesn't make you look good. It's bad. Just have a conversation with somebody. Calm down.
My job to represent you or whatever. First of all, I think you're getting the term I think you're getting the term validation and misrepresenting as well as encouraging different. Because I saw your little argument where you said that well, you don't want to do this towards kids. If you have a kid, you don't want to validate them. No, I will encourage my child. If my child says, I want to be an astronaut, I will encourage my child. I'm not going to validate their existence. You know you're alive, and we're talking about adults, grown-ass adults that want to be validated for how they identify. That ain't my job. That's no one's job.
You're asking me to do the same thing, though.
To your point.
True.
Where you said that it's not your job, it's not your business, as someone that has a platform. And again, listen, I love capitalism. I love people making their money, doing whatever they want to do to make your money. You obviously like the fighting aspect, that way of making money. That's not really my thing. But in any case, I would be so cognizant about how I address people in a public space to not intentionally misrepresent
to not what? Rio, thanks for the 9 month or the 11 months.
them. It would be one thing.
Would you misgender someone? What if they said that, like, they identified as a woman? What if they were biologically male but they identified as a woman and they asked to use she, her pronouns? Would you respect them?
If someone
She doesn't like that question.
no.
No. Well, then you don't get to be mad that he called you a conservative. You just don't get to. That's it. That's the end of it. So move on to the next topic because we don't need to talk about it anymore. Okay, cool. Then I agree. Then that's fine. Then I will just operate by your rules. You're conservative. She's a conservative, by the way.
So why not?
Respect is earned.
Respect is earned.
Respect is earned. Hello, nice to meet you. Please and thank you. That is the basic foundation for respect.
Isn't the basic foundation of respect also using someone's name correctly? Like if I introduce you and I'm like, hi, my name is Jake, and you go, hey Jeff, and I'm like, nope, that's not my name. My name is Jake. You go, nah, I'm gonna call you Jeff. How's that the basic respect thing? Do I have to earn the correct usage of my name that I introduced to you as? Like what?
Even in your video, though, you acknowledged, though, excuse me, in your video, you acknowledged, though, that,
Dude, look at her. She's so mad that he said, excuse me, and wanted to say words. What is this personality? Oh, actual Jeff. True.
Pronoun usage was absolutely part of showing respect. You deliberately said that part of respect is saying please and thank you, ma'am. You mentioned the pronouns. You brought that in.
No. Pronouns, male and female. These aren't pronouns. This is reality.
Wait, ma'am is a pronoun. Male and female is a sexual characteristic.
And this is
these are two different things.
Male and female for all of existence. Male and females. We're adding all of these different labels to things.
But
that's such a terrible
argument. This is not reality.
Well, hold on. This is the disagreement that we're having here, and I think that you're not quite understanding, and that's okay because I didn't understand this for a long time either. But it's not about. Like, for example, trans people, okay, if someone's biologically male and they identify as a woman, they do not think that their biological penis magically becomes a vagina. They are aware of the fact that they differentiate a little bit biologically there. And that realization manifests itself in gender dysphoria.
Yeah.
Gender dysphoria is the uncomfortable mental illness associated with being trans, where they are painfully aware that there is a misalignment between their body and their gender identity. So no one is actually advocating to change anyone, or no one's saying that males and females is wrong or whatnot. They're simply saying that there's a difference between sex and gender. There absolutely is.
I get what you're saying.
Do you? Does she get it?
I understand that. I hear you. But we're talking about assimilation and we're talking about acceptance. We're talking about two different things. If I see a guy that visibly looks like a dude and he calls himself a woman, he says, "Can you please use this pronoun?" I am not at liberty to. I'm not obligated to.
What if they're dressed like a woman? So like
doesn't matter.
But the medical. So for example, but it does.
What is it? It doesn't matter. It's such a weird. That's such a weird thing. I'm sure he'll make a good argument here. He's usually pretty good about this. It is such a strange, like, I don't know, psychological like pathology to see someone who you assume in your head, like there are masculine features on this person, and it's always trans women. Sorry, trans guys, you're never part of the conversation. Don't even get started on any form of non-binary things going on here. So we're only talking about binary trans women. It's always about you. Again, like seeing someone that's masculine in physicality, I guess, in your opinion, whatever that means, and then seeing them in what we would consider, I guess, gendered garb, fucking dresses and shit, which is always, I'm always imagining someone in like a nice floral dress, because I feel like that's the most, that's what ladies wear, right? Right, ladies? You guys don't wear just hoodies and basketball shorts either. Women are only full makeup, dressed in gowns constantly. I don't understand why you would think, now's the time for me to assert that person's gender, like assert whatever I perceive their gender to be on that person. Like, what a weird thing to like take the opportunity to just be like that to somebody. It doesn't really add up to me. It's so much more work. You know what I mean? Like, just on a social level, it's adding steps to socializing rather than just like, oh, hey. And then not, like, you don't even have to address somebody. But if they're like, yeah, my pronouns are she, her. And you go, okay. Like, fighting that is so much more just like, why? It's work for the point of what? Do you think if you say to someone who goes, my pronouns are she, her, and you find them a bit masculine, do you think that person, when you say, no, I'm going to call you he, him, do you think that person is going to be like, oh shit, you're right? What do you think is going to happen there? Like, I genuinely don't understand the hill that you're dying on for that.
So the medical... No, it does, because the...
Hold on. Not you, but who was you transitioning for? Are you transitioning for yourself, or you are transitioning for other people?
Well,
wait, how can you make a value judgment on the reason someone's transitioning in your head without talking to somebody, and then only after you find out the validity of their transition, which is a wild fucking statement, only after you have like gone through and tried to, I guess, verify the validity of the transition, that's when you are like, okay, now I'll gender you properly. Like, what a weird person.
Well, usually if you identify a certain way, hold on, wait, Gothix, wait. When there are people identifying a certain way, it only follows that the reason you're identifying that way is because you also wish to be identified that way by broader society, first and foremost. Second of all, the medical consensus in this issue is literally that if you are suffering from gender dysphoria, you take steps to socially transition. So this idea that some big muscular dude is just walking around saying, call me a woman or else, is just very much a straw man. It does not happen very frequently. Yeah. Most of the time, we just have people that are trans, and they are literally following the medical advice by socially transitioning.
We talked about this in our discussion, and again, he was coming around a little bit at the end of it. By the time he got to Vosh, that conversation seemed to push him over the edge, which is really good, because this is the correct take. It really is just that. I don't understand why someone would have like stronger feelings on, we'll call it the trans issue, than this. That's the whole thing. Someone wants to live away? Okay. You live the way you want. I don't get to talk about it. Like, why would I feel like I get to like determine that for you?
And that's why I said in my video that pronouns are ultimately a form of utility. If someone is wearing a dress, has long hair, and goes by a feminine name and wears lipstick, and they're trans and they're identifying this way, it makes way more sense from a utility sense to just refer to them as a she, her, rather than there's that guy over there who's actually trans, but they're like, that doesn't make sense.
Yep.
Okay.
Do you have any fucking brain cells?
Let me say it from this perspective.
Okay.
I do not give a shit what anyone identify as. I don't care.
Then I don't give a shit what you identify as. So then you shouldn't. You just asked me not to call you a conservative, and you identify as politically homeless, and I'm not going to respect that.
I'm asking you to stop misrepresenting me.
Yep. Yes. Yes. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Just don't misrepresent somebody's fucking gender? Maybe? Is this so hard? That's the thing. Yep. You got it. Wow. Extend that empathy outward and figure out how to apply that to social situations, and you got it. What a dum-dum. Goodness gracious.
When you stop misrepresenting trans people as their wrong pronouns and wrong gender, I will 100% follow your wishes as well.
Argument right now because I am friends with so many people in the trans community that do not subscribe to this nonsense of asking people to adopt to the way that you see yourselves. The trans people that I know, I can call them a man or a woman, and they're fine. They'll not skip a beat. They'll
No, you can't. No, you can't. Check this out. How about this, Gothix? Do you give your friends the N-word pass? You seem like... Don't get me wrong. You seem like you might. You seem like you might have some white friends that really want to say the N-word, and you're like, yeah, go ahead, doesn't bother me. Do you have to have rapport to be okay with that? Or can anybody do it? Can any seething racist just like say that and you're just like totally fine? Like, it's just a word, it doesn't bother me. Is that how it works for you? Like, really weird stuff. It doesn't seem to extend past that. You know what I mean? I don't know, dude. You get to call your trans friends whatever gender I feel like they are. Like, really? That's how you're friends with these people? Are they friends with you back? Like, do they know that you are friends with them? Have you told them? Have you allowed them to have an opinion on that one?
About their day.
Great, I guess.
Why can't that be the standard, and instead we resort to saying that's transphobic?
Well, I have a lot of friends that are politically homeless, and
you just shut up and listen.
Excuse. Come on, dude. I need more of this.
That are politically homeless. And
hold on. Come on.
Just shut up and listen.
You.
Dude, you can't pretend that you're okay. Come on. You cannot pretend that you are okay right now in the middle of that shit, bro. You're not fine. Good God. How to be a snowflake for... Good, just... there seems to be a bit of a... big mad happening right now. All right, okay. We had our fun. Is this the reality or is the parody taking over? No, she cannot handle literally any of this. Yeah, you're right. This is wow. Hunter, look at his face. He knows. Like we're only 9 minutes in, and she's losing it.
Been talking for the last like 15 seconds here. I thought it was okay for me to
stream. It's my show.
Hold on. I need to do one more. Yeah, I need this. I need that right there. I need this quite a bit. Yeah. That's something I need. Okay. I think we'll just hold on. Wait. Hold on and wait, chat. All right, we'll do that one too. It's endless. It's
my show.
Wait, I like that one too. My show. Look at this.
It's my show.
What is this fucking personality, bro? Please make me understand what this is. I'm just gonna do it again. Look, there's that one. I'm just gonna get just that right there. Dude, there's so many in here. There's just so many. It's happening. Okay, let's keep going.
Oh. I'm trying to meet you midway.
You're not.
Honestly, honestly, Hunter, I don't like this back and forth. I really, really don't. I have never made a video dedicated to
Someone so against SJW culture and pronouns. She sure looks and acts like the incarnation of what. Yeah, she pretty much does. I agree, Devious Chilster. Thank you. She's she's super big snowflake shit right now.
one specific YouTuber. I have been on the defense since I started making content. I do not enjoy this. This is not productive.
Can I? Okay, well, if you want me to leave, that's fine. But can you just?
No. Leave.
Well, you just said you didn't like this conversation. So what am I supposed to take from this? I also wanted to ask Starsan how she thinks that I have become far more emotional since walking away from the right. My positions have only largely grown in like basis in like empirical evidence and whatnot. So I would like to know how I am more emotional now.
Here's what I will tell you first, Hunter. I followed you a long time ago, back when I was much less noticing of what is on
You've changed.
YouTube. I'm gonna clarify a few things. What you're misunderstanding about what Gothix is saying, and even Gothix and I don't agree to a total point on this.
Like, why is the employee here? Why?
Is she's not saying she will refuse point blank to ever refer to someone as a preferred pronouns. What she's saying is she is not going to give that respect to someone that she neither knows and that doesn't know her, and will just walk up to her and say, you have to address me like this because it makes me feel good. I don't know you from a hole in the wall.
And she's saying the same thing about me addressing her as conservative.
No, she is not. It's a difference. What you're saying is that this is a conservative that you've owned. And all she's saying is, if you're going to talk about me being a conservative, this is not a conservative. I am just someone out there. But at the end of the day, we don't care what you call us. We really don't.
So what are some ideas that Gothix agrees with on the left? Gothix, what are some ideas that you agree with the left?
Great question.
I would be so happy to hear them. I don't generalize ideas on the left because I realize.
So what are some ideas that are generally lefty?
So you tell me. We probably have a lot more in common than you think, but we're never gonna get to that point if this is just if you're.
So bring him up. What he just asked. It's so weird to be like, well, I don't know any of them, but just yes, you do. Yes, you do know policies that are considered left-leaning. What are you talking about?
Going into this with the intention of making clickbait.
I'm not trying to make clickbait.
Channel got deleted tomorrow, I'd be Gucci. I'd be good.
I'm trying to talk. I'm literally just asking. You say you're politically homeless. You don't like that I'm calling you conservative. So I'm asking you, what are some ideas that are generally associated with the left that you associate yourself with?
Easy question. She looks like she eats ass sarcastically. God damn it.
Or you agree with?
You're gonna have to let me know. I have not.
Seriously? Are you fucking kidding me right now? Are you? Do you know what that is? Do you know what that 100% is? The grift! Because even if she does have left-leaning viewpoints, certainly if you should be smart enough to understand what viewpoints you have that are left versus right. Correct? Like, even if you're a dum-dum like Gothix, you should be able to understand this, right? It's just because if she brings them up, she loses money. It's straight up that. If she brings up a left-leaning like policy right now off the top of the dome, she will lose money from these dum-dums in chat, right? Because these people in here, I don't know if you're reading this, but they're dumb as fuck. He's been eating soy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, this is your best shot here. Spiro Gal, thanks for the 69 biddies, and Annie, thanks for the 69 biddies. This is just ridiculous. So what she has to do here is have him say a left-leaning like position so that she can disagree with it and say, no, that's one of the bad ones. And then he'll be like, what's one of the good ones? And she goes, well, I don't organize them like that. Because if she does say, like, oh, I'm for healthcare, she'll lose money. She just straight up will.
Are you in favor of stronger social safety?
See, he's going to do this, and she's going to be like, no, it depends on what that means.
Do you want stronger welfare? Do you want more, do you want a higher minimum wage?
Yeah.
No, none of that. No.
Okay. No, none of that. See?
Okay, do you want worker owned means of production? That's like the further lefty stuff that I'm not in favor of either, but I'm trying to get a general idea.
Worker owned, do you mean like
Why are you talking? Why is this person who isn't Gothix talking every single time? It's so weird. It's so weird to have your employee talk on your behalf.
Sorry to interrupt.
Sorry to interrupt. Get out of the conversation. Why are you here? She literally, it's her employee. That's who, this is the same person, the person talking right now is the person who DM'd me, and was like, I will be, I'll be moderating your debate. What? What?
Do you mean like more unions, or do you mean like where the workers are more private business instead of big business?
Wait, I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Okay, so when you say more worker-owned businesses, are you meaning more like they have more stock, like they own stock in the business?
No,
do you mean
So
they're unionized,
they own
or do you mean that they actually own the business?
Talking about communism?
So there's the
Communism. Holy fucking shit, these people are in dire need of a book. Any book. Read one fucking book. Please. Pick a book. Yep, read that one. You'll learn something, at minimum. Jake, don't throw stones. We all know Darwin was running your teleprompter. Dude, I wish Darwin would run anything around here. He needs a job.
So what I'm a social democrat. So I believe in stronger social safety nets. We can basically just look at like other countries and see where they have stronger social safety nets. Universal health care, stronger welfare, a UBI would be great. We see
UBI would not necessarily be great. Thoric, thanks so much for the 2 months. UBI is great if you don't commodify housing. Well, if you don't commodify rental housing, I think you can commodify, like we've talked before. I think you could sell houses. I don't think you can rent apartments with UBI, because if you do UBI, the rent just goes up and they take the UBI. You know what I mean? But if you decommodify rent, then you can do UBI and it works better. It's a nitpick, but whatever. Unless you, the only way to get around that with a caveat here, just in case, I don't know, Hunter might take umbrage with that, but with the caveat of not putting like a federal limit on rent increase, I suppose. But in some way, just the way capitalism works, it would try to predatorily obtain that UBI. You know what I mean? Ryan the Goon, thanks for following.
A larger and more efficient
Thoric, thanks for the 10 months.
Level of economic mobility in other countries that tend to adopt these policies. So I'm a social democrat. However, a further left idea, which I do not subscribe to, is that the workers should own the means of production. And what that means is that, yes, they don't just own stock. There's not just strong unions. I'm in favor of strong unions. They actually would seize the means of production.
Look at this. Socialism is not welcome here. He's not even talking about being a socialist, right? He was never a Republican. He has a strange idea of what conservative means. Like, what are you talking about? Like, these people are so fucking weird. Which means, by the way, socialism not welcome here. He was never a conservative. They like Gothics. Pretty odd, Gothics, that you have fans of conservatives. Do you think, Gothics, do you genuinely think that when you make content like that it's politically neutral? Is that a thing that you believe that you do? And if so, do you believe that your incredibly conservative base of fans also views your takes as neutral? That would be very interesting. I would be very fascinated to find out.
From the owner, and then they would all begin to take a share based on how much work they put
chugging
into that
red
company.
pill. Thanks, Devious Chilster. Yeah.
Okay, so I have the idea concrete in my head.
She just cracks open red pills and does lines of them.
That means, let's say
a communist, great, literally said he wasn't in favor of it, and they can't listen to it. I don't understand. He merely understands what the position of seizing the means of production is. He merely understands that and explained it, and they're like, oh, a communist. Universal health care equals the same crappy health care for all. What the fuck? Marxism. Yeah, he was never a Republican. Yuck. He's just explaining it. Simply explaining what it is. They're like, nope, don't want that. First of all, you're all wage workers. You're all wage workers. You're watching Gothics. You're on YouTube. You're not CEOs. You're not. Okay? You work for a wage. Why would you not want more money for your work? I don't understand you. Why would you not want more money? You can ask for a raise, but not too much of a raise. You're like, oh, I took too much from the company. Really? It's so weird. Reminds me of our woke general that read Marx to understand it from the perspective of an adversary. Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Her ramble was just a
Jabari, thanks for following.
I owned a business, and you and Gothix were my workers. And both of you were on my production line. Let's say you're building teddy bears. And you have both decided that,
Thanks, Session.
Hunter, you're going to own the stuffing of the teddy bears.
Unions are corrupt. Incredible.
And Gothix, you're going to own the outer shell of the teddy bears. And I no longer get the right to them because you have decided on your own that is yours now.
She's talking about teddy bears?
Well,
And
yeah, I
I
don't
have
agree
to
with
find a
this
way to
at
get
all.
it.
This I was
No, but
just
I'm asking. I'm trying to get the idea.
yeah.
But okay, but if that's the case, I'm not for that either.
Yeah,
So,
no.
Okay, so
If that's the case, they literally don't even know what these things are? What? If that's what means production, how do you not understand this stuff? How do you not understand this stuff? No wonder she doesn't fucking get it whenever anyone has a disagreement with her. She doesn't fucking know what she's saying. She's just out here doing words and performing. She's oh God. Oh God. Dude, she is just straight up out here validating white right-wingers and raking in money and saying nothing. It's just a show, dude. I'm just saying, if this was at the turn of the century, I feel like there would be a certain. I feel like, let's just say this: if Gothix existed at the turn of the century, I feel like you would, and maybe Disney produced it. I feel like Disney would have a warning at the beginning of this saying like, "Hey, this is basically a minstrel show." Sorry about that, but there's your warning. Go ahead and watch the old thing. Kind of like the Dumbo Crows. She doesn't have any opinions. She's black and agrees with white people. That's the fucking grift. Like, what? Candace Owens at least understands, poor man's Candace Owens. She at least understands, like, what communism is, I think. Right? She seems to understand minimal political things. Gothix has just no fucking clue at all.
Something we do agree on.
okay, sure. I'm trying to think of like what ideas are or what positions are
simple one.
generally seen as like a little bit more left liberal.
Let
For
me put it this way.
Go ahead.
Let me put it this way. There's probably a lot more policies and ideas.
I'm not overestimating Candace. I definitely think Candace Owens knows a little bit about politics.
That I agreed with when I was on the left, but I didn't.
That I was on the left? You said you were on the left. How can you assert that you were on the left without knowing or being able to name any policy that is considered left-leaning? How?
Not ask enough questions. Like, for example, if you had asked me before I walked away from the left, I would have said I'm in favor for more welfare. But now, understanding what it's done, especially to the black community and how people are stuck in that cycle, I am absolutely not in favor of that.
Sure. So that might be something we could agree with. So do you believe in any element of like systemic racism? Like if there's a policy like welfare that's disproportionately negatively impacting black people, that would be a like sign of systemic racism. So would you agree with like that element? I mean, we might be able to find some common ground there.
No, I'm going to have to decline on that because systemic racism in particular, if we just take away the words, take away the meaning of systemic racism, it's this idea that this is somehow preventing someone of doing something. But
What?
it's not. We all have personal choices, and I know people like to say,
Does systemic racism say that it prevents people from doing things? Nani?
roll up your bootstraps, do whatever. If that's the term we got to use, that's the term we got to use. But I have people in my family that have dealt with racism, but you don't hear about it. They just do the thing.
Sure. And I actually
yeah.
would agree. So I would agree with you there, but I think that we might still be able to find common ground. So let me try to explain this really quick. So this doesn't have to be a dichotomy. So it's not actually systemic racism versus pull yourself up by the bootstraps. I believe that, I mean, let's look around in this country that we live in. There are systems, quote unquote, in every facet of life, more or less, right?
True.
We have the criminal justice system. That's the system that we go through if we're being prosecuted for a crime or whatever. We're all sort of a product, more or less, of the systems around us. So I agree with you that within these systems, absolutely,
Her
you
ramble
should
was
work
just
to,
a gorilla.
quote unquote, pull
Tommy from Hunter's Twitter, hi. Hi, Mars Youth.
pull yourself up by the bootstraps, work as hard as you possibly can to
did Hunter tweet about it? I didn't look.
Maximize your outcomes. However, the systems in place, you don't always have individual control over that. So when we're talking about personal responsibility, that's something that needs to be instilled on a family level. That's not really something that the government can necessarily do. What the government can do as far as policy is provide stronger social safety nets and whatnot. And with that also, we can talk about systemic racism and how that manifests itself. And again, I just want to be crystal clear. When I'm talking about systemic racism, I am not saying that black people are incapable of doing anything because racism is in their way. I'm simply saying that there are actually systems in place that have been empirically proven to disproportionately negatively affect black people. And we can fix that without needing to talk about or without even ever bringing up white people bad or black people can't do it or whatever.
Can you give me an example of a system?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the criminal justice system is a very clear-cut one about basically when we look at even if we want to go to so police violence, we talk about this a lot. And I know the response to that is, well, black people commit more crime. And I would say, yeah, that's true. But why do black people commit more crime? And it's because they are in communities that are disproportionately poor, and with poverty comes more crime. It's absolutely true that you can't deny this. This is an empirically proven fact. And the reason they are in these disproportionately poor areas is due to policies in the past, like redlining, that forced black people into less than ideal communities and deprived them of being able to actually build equity in this amazing country at the time. They were prohibited from doing that, and we all can recognize how policies can have generational impacts. This is still hurting the black community today.
Okay, respectfully, you are making a generalized statement about the black community when you say that.
No, I'm not.
I am not. I grew up in the hood, and I have a cousin right now that is incarcerated for several things, and he was in a good family.
We all have an incarcerated
family
husband
members,
or cousin, don't we?
Entrepreneurs. He got caught up in the wrong friend group and did stuff because he wanted to be cool.
Was there gang violence and stuff?
Yes.
Right.
Over and over again. I'll see this. They inject themselves into that through means of culture. It's not something that is, here is this area of black people and crime. Yeah, let's get to the bottom of that. Why is it that crime is so high? Why are crimes getting committed? Why are crimes getting committed in the first place? I've been laid off. I've had negative balance in my checking account. I've had some terrible living situations. I've never stabbed nobody. I've never killed nobody.
I'm not asking.
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm not asking about your personal experience necessarily because I can't speak to that. But I'm also.
Wait, what? Why? Okay, just because poverty is the pretty much the dominant predeterminant living issue, I guess, the predeterminant variable, I suppose, in the human condition that will explain why crime happened, right? Because usually someone who is poor tends to have their survival needs unmet or on a precipice of being unmet, right? As many of us have been in the past or currently. Poor sucks. Being poor under capitalism is pretty rough. It doesn't mean you're gonna commit crimes. I certainly didn't commit crimes. I mean, certainly nothing egregious. I sped a few times, but you know what I mean. But some people are worse off, or some people don't have as many opportunities because I was employed and I was going to college. Right? It was community college, but it was still college, right? I had some opportunities. It wasn't bleak for me. And certainly in my area, I had enough of, it wasn't great, but I had enough of a familial sort of help. I could have moved to my mom's, for instance, if I really, really needed to. I wasn't at risk of being on the streets, but some people are at risk, and some people don't have a network of anybody that they can count on. Some people don't have a couch they can surf. Some people just have to make money the way that they can make money, and the system in general exacerbates this need because we don't have a way for people to survive outside of gaining capital. But if you do incorporate a system that, say for instance, we bang on this all the time on stream, if you decommodified just rental properties, right? And you had like, oh, I own a rental property. Okay, and the government will give you a reverse mortgage or buy it outright for you. You can either be a steward of the land and continue to maintain the land, or we can hire somebody else. But if you do so, you get wages. This could work. And then anybody who needs a place to live can get a living situation around the country, wherever you're at. And then if you want to buy a house, you can buy a house. But in the meantime, you can pursue, just minimal living situations to make sure that you're not on the streets, because everybody needs shelter and dignity and a place to keep your shit and all that. This could be mitigated right away. And it's not like even socialist or communist, right? In fact, it just makes capitalism go burr even better, because what is your major number one bill? When you really think of all your bills you have, if you live alone, if you live outside of home, even if you have like roommates, oftentimes rent is like the thing. We got to make rent this month. It's always the thing. Every paycheck, you're thinking about rent, thinking about cars, thinking about like your transportation, your insurance. You're thinking not medical insurance, your car insurance. If you could get medical insurance, that'd be dope. Another thing that we should do. But you're worried about your food. You're worried about like your cell phone and internet service, because we need those in the modern society. Like these are things that we could just get rid of, and instead of buying your survival every day, you could work not for survival but for thriving. Under capitalism, we could purchase things we don't need, but things we want. It's just a way to think about it. And plus, rent is ridiculous nowadays. Like the price of rent, absolutely not tenable if you want to maintain any form of successful capitalism. It just doesn't make any sense. You have to choose which markets you're going to amplify and which ones you're going to absorb and just stop commodifying. You have to pick. You can't have every market be commodified, because there's not enough capital to go around, especially if you don't hike wages. So you have to choose. It just, I mean, it's not like even debatable. You can't have it all. You genuinely cannot have it all the way that we try to under capitalism. You can either raise wages so that when people work, they can make a living and afford all the things, or you can take away things that they have to afford so that the wages can stay where they're at or rise again, and everybody can buy what they want instead of having to deal with it. So it's like really, really basic stuff that would be easy to implement pretty much overnight. There's not even infrastructure you need to change. My rent increased to $11.80 next year. That's nuts. That's nuts. Do you want to know something that's going to gross you out? My mortgage is less than half of that for my house, because I was fortunate enough to have money up front to be able to pay a down payment.
Not generalizing anything. It is an empirically proven fact that black people disproportionately live in poverty. That does not mean that all black people live in poverty.
Why?
That doesn't mean that just if someone is
Why?
black, they live in poverty.
Right. Why? She's asking why, which is a great question to ask when someone says, hey, disproportionately black people live in poverty. Why is a great question, right? But you got to listen to the answer. If you're not listening to the answer, if you're like, no, that doesn't sound right, then, I mean, there are studies that show this.
Explain to you the reason why is due to largely policies like redlining and the drug war. So for example, we have the policy.
What do you know? How do you know? How can she assert that she disagrees with this if she doesn't even know anything about it?
Of the drug war, which was implemented with explicit intent to screw over the black community. That is what Nixon said. He said we couldn't make it be illegal to be black, but we could associate the blacks with crack cocaine and heavily criminalize the cocaine. So when we talk about like the fatherlessness issue in these black communities, part of that is due to the
Denims. Welcome.
fact that a bunch of black people are being disproportionately locked up for rather minor drug offenses.
Yeah.
This tears families apart.
How can you disagree with this? It's like on the books. It's pretty explicitly explained. This is not debatable. Look, your boy went to school for history, okay? Pretty wrapped up nicely in a bow that this is factual. It's absolutely wild to just like ignorantly hand wave that kind of thing. Are you fucking serious? Yes. So tired of economic struggle? Yeah, absolutely.
again.
No, I'm sorry.
It is
You know what
culture.
tears?
It's
Hold
not
on,
just
that's
culture.
not-
And why do they have that culture?
What tears families apart is the enabling of that bad behavior.
What bad behavior? Crime? The enabling of what bad behavior? What's bad about it? Is it morally bad to commit a crime? Depends on the crime, dude.
We are talking about people that are committing crimes and then saying that they get screwed over. You committed
That's
a
not what they're
crime.
saying.
You gotta own up to it.
But they're not saying that. First of all, they're
And
not.
also, I hold on. I gotta push back. Also, you just said something about that. That the reason that people are in poverty is because of something dealing with the whatever. I'm gonna go look this up. I don't know exactly what the.
She's not even saying anything. Did you just hear that? You just said the reason people are in poverty is because of that or the whatever. She doesn't even know what she's talking about.
How they label the stats, but there is
How they
something
label
you can
the
find data
stats.
on this where it shows you that Black people in America rank the lowest when it comes to financial maintenance.
Well, yeah. Okay, where do you think financial maintenance comes from? Go ahead. Just anybody? Do you know where the idea of financial maintenance would maybe come from? Do you think it might be education? Do you think it might be actually having money to maintain? Electro Retro, thanks so much for the 6 months, or for the sub gifted to Denims, and the 6th gift sub. Not bad, not 6 months. Thank you. Like having the resources that require management, right? like it's pretty simple stuff. If you don't have the systemic wealth, like the familial wealth, like again, Black families, by the way, have only been legally equal in America since like 1968, 69. My mom was 10. My mother was 10 years old when Black human beings were considered equal in the law. And you're surprised that there happens to be a problem with like money management in the Black community? Why? Like, if you're poor, there's not a lot to manage, bro. I get fucking anxiety over paying bills that I can afford because I was poor for so long. Imagine being fucking poor generationally. Come on, man. So dumb.
It comes to opening up a savings account, building
Yes.
credit, things like that.
Yes.
And they spend more on physical goods.
But why is that?
jewelry,
No,
cool
but
cars.
why? But why do they do this? It's like it's almost as if sometimes disproportionately they lack the education on how to better handle money. And when you lack that but you lack education because you're living in poverty and the local schools are funded by your tax dollars.
Boom. Yeah, we talk about this all the time. It's very simple stuff. This is like not hard.
So when you're living in poverty, you also get a lesser education, which puts you in a situation where you're more likely to make those situations.
Look at these people in Gothix's fucking chat saying culture. Culture. They're racists, bro. The idea that the Black culture is just like an inferior living situation is fucking wild. Absolutely fucking wild. I don't know how Gothix can stand like being the ruckus, dude. I don't know how she can stand it. They must pay well. How do you not look at your chat and go, but I'm one of the good ones? Maybe it's that. Maybe she deletes herself from the culture. It's so wild, dude. Like how she associates physical goods with jewelry and cars instead of things like food and shoes. Or like entertainment. Like there's a lot of people that like, you know, humans need, downtime. We need stuff. People like this often say like, oh, why are they buying like PlayStations or telephones? Like their cell phones? What do you mean, bro? What are you talking about? Because we're humans. How is our bar? You need to work really hard for years and years before you get to be happy at all. Is that your fucking standard, dude? Yikes. Thanks, Stromboli.
Or make those decisions. Also, just really quick, people in your chat keep saying it's culture. there can be a cultural element to it, but again, we would have to ask why that culture is. And secondly, where people say, I'm a white messiah or trying to educate a black woman, very nice identity politics, guys. But anyway.
I get what
I mean, straight up identity politics it is.
they're saying, because you have to understand the irony of a white man telling me these things.
No.
It's not ironic.
Oh, you're invoking identity
I've seen
politics.
these things in my
You're
neighborhood,
invoking
and I'm having
identity
someone that
politics
looks
right
different
now.
to me telling me that's
Because
not
of-
true.
that's
It doesn't matter. But this is what you're doing is the equivalent of someone telling me I can't have an opinion because I'm white.
I did not say that.
You're saying
You literally are saying that. What? Literally, yes. The irony of a white guy saying, like, what?
that it's ironic that I'm white telling a
Have
black
an
person
opinion.
about something. You're invoking identity politics right
Yeah.
now.
Okay. In any case, your argument is that because of all of these systems, these things are in place. This is why it is affecting black people disproportionately. But also, you did say that this type of thing, in order to fix it, has to do with being in the home. It starts in the home, right? Is that what you were saying earlier?
Well, when it comes to personal responsibility, that's something that needs to be fixed within the home. But when we're actually talking about opportunity, and these communities largely lack opportunity, we're talking about policies like investing money to try to build up businesses. A rough idea I thought of is like incentivizing businesses to establish there. Trump actually, unfortunately, it didn't quite work out as well as it could have, but Trump, credit to him, he had a really good idea called, I think they were called, there were opportunity zones, where he was incentivizing businesses that could go in these black communities. And although it ended up not quite working out how it was supposed to, the idea was 100% there. So there are policies that we can take to fix these issues on a broad sense, and then there's an individual way.
What are they talking about government bailouts for in chat? Dude, I don't know how they frame this shit as bailout. Right? Like if you are a capitalist, you want money to be moving around the communities, right? You don't, it's like sharing the same $20 bill. You want people to be able to move money around, right? Like, if we're going to have money, everybody needs to be able to use some at all times, or that stops working. You can't have the hoarding of wealth in one area and then nobody else can buy stuff. Like, say, for instance, you're on an island and it's 10 people. One person owns the apple trees on the island. And the only thing to eat there is these I don't know, Garden of Eden apples. You eat an apple a day, you'll be alive forever, right? Or alive as long as you eat an apple a day, right? But one person owns all the apples and is like, hey, you have to trade me your Eden bucks to get apples. And then eventually, he's got the apples. He doesn't need to buy apples. He's got apples. Eventually, all the Eden bucks on the thing are on the island are just gonna be in that guy's pocket, and everybody else is just gonna be like, "Can we have apples?" And he's like, "Nope, not until you get me Eden bucks." It's like, well, then give us some Eden bucks, because you have them all right now. We only have a finite amount of Eden bucks. How do you how wild stuff? No, not coconuts, chat. Too many coconuts. Coconuts aren't good anyway. You can't chew those. You can not. Come on. Those can be weapons. They're apples. Easier.
Way that we can fix these issues within the family. But the government and policy, that doesn't really mesh with the family very often. Usually it's the government trying to make like a broader policy, right, to affect large groups of people.
I just don't understand how you're expecting that something, if you're saying that, I believe personal responsibility is like the tip top, like the creme de la creme of something that someone would need to succeed in life. And if that is not being taught in the home, I don't think there is any policy, no movement, no nothing that will be able to force someone in order to have that personal responsibility until you actually address the problem.
I disagree. So, there's lots of reasons that I disagree with this, but the number one reason I disagree with this is you can teach someone as much personal responsibility as you want, unless they are met with the opportunity to use that skill. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to go anywhere. There's not going to be opportunity to do that thing. Like, you can only say, like, oh, I'm going to be rich someday so much before you're just not rich, right? Like, you know what I mean? Why not have systemically in America Everybody just knows growing up that you have the opportunity to actually pursue whatever you want to be. If you want to be a doctor, it doesn't matter if you come from a poor family. You can try to go to medical school. If you are good, if you show aptitude in college, yeah, I mean, you're going to be a doctor. That's dope. I think, don't we want like closer to meritocracy than anything, right? Like, don't we want people to sort themselves out based on their aptitude for the things that we're trying to have done, rather than does their family have enough money to send this person to the thing to see? Because what happens is you have a situation where do you think every poor person is incapable of being a doctor from a mental perspective, like from a, just to be able to absorb it? Of course not, right? At least I would hope not. But there's a lot of poor people that never go to school to be doctors because they can't afford the loans. They can't afford to go to school for this kind of thing. It just happens. That's all it is. They can't afford to drive to the school. They can't afford to stay on campus. They can't afford the books. Somewhere in there, like, you kind of had to be like middle class or get very lucky with scholarship to even pull that off, right? And like, what if you come from a bad school system where there was poverty? Your scores might not be that impressive to get into fucking med school. You know what I mean? Like, because we commodify these things. Now, if we simply decommodify higher education, what you can do is you can have everybody, irrespective of, not their success, by the way, under capitalism, because we like meritocracies, I thought. Because a capitalist will tell you, well, you know, you work hard, you get what you worked hard for, right? And I think that's fine. That's a good idea in your head, right? If you work, you get stuff back. Decent idea, makes sense to a lot of people, seems equitable, seems fair, right? You know, if some person can't work or anything, I'm happy to figure that out and would be happy to extend UBI to people that were disabled. Easy enough. That seems fine, seems good, because you still want that person in the market, and you still want that person to be able to pursue other stuff too. Like, absolutely fine. And not to say that, you know, disabled people can't do work. Disabled people can't do some work. It just depends on the disability, right? Like, I have a pretty bad ankle injury that just has never healed right. I really shouldn't be doing manual labor, and I'm really glad that I'm fortunate enough to do this job instead, which I tend to have a little bit of an aptitude for, and that's fine. I'm not the most popular streamer in the whole world, but we pay our bills, you know what I'm saying? That's fine with me. Like it just doesn't seem to me very reasonable for a capitalist to subscribe to the current system as if it has any sort of like actual merit-based social movement baked into it, because it doesn't. It comes from your parents' financial success or the systemic success therein, or it comes from a very lucky break. It really is. It's just luck. And you, not to say you didn't work hard. Like, I worked hard, but I got lucky. Like, I put in a lot of hours in YouTube, got lucky, broke through a little bit, was able to pay bills, was able to do this. But I could be doing the same exact content for 3 viewers and never get a bump because I never got somebody to retweet me or never got somebody to enjoy me enough. You know what I mean? And I would have to go do something else. And I couldn't spend a lot of time doing this. And so I would break through even less. You know what I mean? It's a numbers game. You know? We're pitted against each other. It is a volatile, like, relationship that the working class has against one another, which, by the way, exacerbates things like racism, for the record, just from a social perspective. Look up anthropology, sociology, very easy stuff. Lady Kira, thanks so much for the follow, and Nell, thanks for the follow as well. I mean, you don't need me to preach on this anymore, but I could talk for hours about that, and we do sometimes.
And my frustration, to make it very clear, comes from when I deal with people who does not have that real life experience, and I have seen these things growing up and telling me that this is something that can be fixed on a societal level or on a system level, when I know that some people simply don't have that ability to self-reflect or use personal responsibility.
She is saying that other people don't have the ability to self-reflect?
And
Okay.
you're making it more difficult.
Well, the couple things is when you invoke your lived experience, again, that is by definition identity politics. It's not bad if you want to bring in identity politics, but you should just admit that it's identity politics.
What are you basing your position on?
What do you mean?
If
So
my lived experience as a Black woman And what
I
I'm
don't
saying
base
to
my
you
stuff
about
on
Black American culture, what are you basing your positions on?
I don't need to base it anything on my like personal experience. Rather, I'm able to base it on looking at like from a policy level. Again, I'm not trying to tell Black people that they need to just go like do better or whatever. I'm talking about broad policy again. So I want to lay out an example for you. So I agree that having the drive to go out and work for what like the best outcome you can get in this life is absolutely important, and that is a value that should be instilled in the home. But let me lay out a scenario. Let's say in the home there's the mom and the dad, and they instill these values that say you need to work really hard.
This happens all the time.
You need to do as best you possibly can, okay? And then their child goes out, and maybe they're living in one of these poor communities, and then you know what would happen? They go and apply for a job. And you know what? If they have a Black sounding name, I'm sure you've heard this study brought up repeatedly. It's come up multiple times. It's been...
Why are you shaking your head? How can you shake your head at this? It's real. It is there are studies. Oh my God.
replicated a couple times too. Black sounding names are less likely to get callbacks when they apply for jobs. So that right there is a way that bias can affect
How do you
Black
just shake
people,
your head at
even
that?
if they are working, like you said, taking personal experience, taking personal responsibility, doing the absolute best thing they can possibly do, they could still run into roadblocks outside of their control due to systemic racism.
Like, how do you just Gothix, do me a favor. Try really hard to steelman the position using your personal politics. Say, okay, I don't know that that's happening, but let's say that it is happening. Let's say that the studies do show that Black sounding names get fewer callbacks for job applications. And then, using your politics, try to find a prescriptive solution to that. That's what the point is of these exercises here. But instead, you just flatly deny it. And I think it's two things. Number one, obviously, you can't agree they're not going to give you money, right? Your fan base is just straight up going to stop supporting you. Number two, none of your politics actually solve that problem. So it's like a lose-lose for you. The win here, there is a dub in there. Having the integrity to agree with someone who has a left-leaning opinion on this because they're right. Just having the integrity to agree with the correct opinion, irrespective of the mouth that opinion comes out of. Have that integrity, Gothix, and you'll be on your way. But you do not have that.
Again, it's not a dichotomy. Rather, it's just work as hard as you can, and let's also address some of these systemic inequalities.
I don't believe that someone is doing the best as they can if they stop at my name sounded like an ethnic name and I didn't get a job.
That wasn't how it was done.
That's not... What the fuck?
That wasn't how...
Okay.
So that would have been invoked... First of all, you...
Her name is Vanessa. She doesn't have that problem. Is her name Vanessa? Or are you making a joke? Because she looks like a Vanessa.
shouldn't shit on that because that would have been using a personal experience, and that's what you just tried to use on me. Second of...
Finish, I'd be able to finish my argument.
Well, okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much.
Oh my fucking God, dude.
This is going great.
No, the snark isn't really helping, but it's okay.
You know what? It's that Puerto Rican and Cape Verdean. I just got to use my identity politics when I can. It is what it is.
Who finds this endearing besides white people? Like racist white people. You know what I mean? I actually don't know who like enjoys that.
Okay.
So I fucking had a brain fart.
We were talking about the call thing, and your chat said this.
Can I step in?
Well, yes, just really quick, I want to address, someone said that study was done like a decade ago. Two really quick things. One, you're right, it was done a decade ago, and then it was replicated again, and then again. So it's been done actually 3 different times. Second of all, it wasn't just one experience or whatever. It was actually a controlled study where they sent out resumes that were identical, and the only thing that was different was a black-sounding name, and the black-sounding names were significantly less likely to get a call back.
Wow. That sounds like science, chat. Sounds like good old science. Devious Chilster, thanks for 50 biddies. Is she playing up sassy black woman to her white conservative audience? I think a little bit of that, yeah.
People are saying I sound like a racist. Again, we're pulling the Hunters talking about stats that makes him racist card. Not sure what the point of that is, but again, I just wanted to address that really quickly.
Hold on, I remember. Hold on, Star Sen. I just remembered what I was gonna say. Okay, so Okay. Back to the black sounding name. My point that I was making is that I often hear that as an argument about black people being disproportionately whatever.
Disproportionately whatever. Dude, she just fucking like shuts off. She can't even like accurately reiterate the like argument he made.
I look at that as an excuse. If we're talking about pulling up your bootstraps and persevering and
what's
overcoming
the excuse?
My first thought is, why the hell
overcoming the adversity of your given name?
Would anyone want to work for a job that wanted to discriminate because of your name anyway? And
they shouldn't be though.
But that's not the point. The point is not, oh, well, they shouldn't want to work there anyway. The point is that's the fucking opportunity they have in their space. Athalia Gundam, thanks for the prime, dude. How can you say pull yourself up by your bootstraps and just go apply for jobs, and then when they apply for jobs and they get denied specifically for their name and nothing else because they're qualified for the position otherwise, how can you say that that's on them to address? And then when they say, okay, I will address it, that's racist. You go, no. Let them do that. Go find a different job. How is that the response? She's never had to deal with that? I don't know her. I mean, someone said her name earlier. I'm not going to say it on this now, though. You know, she'll probably say, like, oh, you're doxing me. You know what I mean?
Also, I would even go as far as saying there's other jobs out there. There's other things to do. A common argument that I hear, for example, on the topic...
Just move. Simply move, loser.
Of, if we think about hate speech, for example, what if somebody's working for a racist job? Why the hell would you want to work for a racist boss anyway?
Well, there are laws against that. Like, yeah, you definitely shouldn't be, but...
There's laws against it. My point being,
what?
having the choice to make your choice in life.
It's not a choice sometimes. What the choice is... apply for a job with a racist boss and maybe get it or maybe don't, or don't apply for any jobs anywhere because the only job you can get is for a racist boss. So crime, I guess, making money outside of the system is like how that would work, right? How are you surprised? I just don't understand how you're surprised. Met with these situations, right? And this happens all the time. Not to mention in the deep south where people are just like pretty much openly racist and like, we're not going to hire you folks around here. Like, yeah, they're denied opportunity specifically on purpose. It's just wild. I don't understand. Doesn't she also live in like New York? Where you're going to get that stuff a little bit less because of the like just massive diversity?
I didn't say that life was going to be easy or nicer and everyone's not going to be mean to one another. I said that is the reality, that people will always be mean to one another.
Holy shit. But couldn't we just mitigate the systemic participation of meanness to one another? Couldn't we say, okay, socially that's fine, but in our marketplace, in our government, in our schools, etc., couldn't we just simply eliminate that variable? Because we want everybody to participate in capitalism. We want everybody to participate in the system in general. It doesn't seem to add up to any form of like how I don't know. It's like having a car with your check engine light, and you're like, "Yep, that's just part of having a car." And then the car breaks down, and you're like, "Well, fuck! Why did the car break?" Well, it's part of having a car. We could have addressed the issue, but instead. You dismissed it. Very odd.
Well, yeah, but don't you think it's lame that people are not able to...
It is lame.
Isn't it lame that people, if they're cursed with a black-sounding name, they're suddenly, like, less likely to get hired in certain aspects? Like, that's a way...
That sucks.
But that's a way... So that's a way...
That sucks. So shouldn't we address it?
Way that black people are specifically disadvantaged compared to white people. That would be systemic racism. You're conceding my point right now.
That sucks. That sucks. How bad do you want the job?
Holy fucking shit. What a dumb piece of garbage. How bad do you want the job? What? What a terrible fucking argument. Just fucking address the point.
Okay. So then you're just living in
That's where
denial
I'm going.
again, which
How
is
bad do you
so
want
so
the
you
job?
realize what
It's
you're
a
saying,
valid
which is no
point.
matter what happens, it's just on
How
them
bad
to
do you
do
want the
better. It's
job?
just on them to do better no matter what, which is unrealistic ultimately when we're talking about broad systems. I already conceded that they should do as well as they can.
There's like, okay, I've mentioned this before. There's no way at all, right, that she's never gotten beaten up. Like as a sassy teenager, and one of her classmates was like, "Fuck you, bitch." And then Gothix was like, "No, fuck you, bitch." And then someone just hauled off and punched her in the face. She's just so fucking insufferable as a person, right? How does someone who, I hope, how do you, especially on the East Coast, living on the East Coast, putting up with this fucking attitude, dude? How? How hasn't she had this fucking socially eliminated from her? Nobody would deal with this personality in person. Does she talk to people in reality? Like, has she ever had like a vulnerable like interaction with another human being? Because it's just wild to me that she would be like, yeah, no empathy whatsoever for any of that. No, I would not like to address the problem of people actively not hiring black people because of how their names sometimes sound. Whiskey Raccoon, thanks, Phone.
But if you're being discriminated against simply because your name sounds ethnic or whatever, that is absolutely a way that black people are disadvantaged
Only black person in Rhode Island.
compared to white people, and that would be systemic racism. Correlation doesn't equal causation. I never said it did, but again, there was a significant decrease there. It was far more than just correlation.
All I'm saying is that systemic racism or not, this conversation, the semantics of what is occurring in society.
How's that
with systemic
semantic?
racism, because I just put it bluntly. How bad do they want the job?
But they're
My
not
mom
even getting
came to this
interviewed.
country when she was really young.
But they're
she
not
had
getting
multiple jobs, single parent,
Identity politics.
probably dealt with a lot of bullshit,
Dude,
and
she's
somehow
so
she
dumb.
was able to make it. So how bad do you want
But it
the
doesn't
job?
matter because they're not even getting interviewed. They're not getting called in even initially.
None?
No,
Never?
because they have an ethnic sounding name. That's what I just
Oh, yeah,
said.
all of the interviews, they couldn't get any of
Is
them?
that what I said? Is all of them? I'm talking
just
about
said they can't get
disproportionates. I'm talking about
Dude, she's so fucking stupid. I genuinely, it's so weird. Like, does she actually not fucking understand the conversation that's being had? I gotta be honest with you guys. A while back, I was having a discussion in my living room, and I was like, dude, do you think we're like in the top 50% of smart people? Because I feel like I just talk over some people's heads sometimes, and they just have no fucking idea what's happening in the conversation. I'm pretty sure it's top 10%, dude. I'm pretty sure everybody in this chat, we're pretty close to it. We're in the tippy top because we're swimming in a sea of dum-dums, dude. What's happening? How could she not logically follow this conversation? Like, even if you politically disagree, you can't disagree with like the fact of those studies existing and the fact of the numbers and how they bear out. Your response to that isn't to fix the fucking racist people, which exist. It's not even debatable that racists exist. Your response to that is, well, you got racism, dat. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps and go apply to a job that won't racism you. As if they can screen for that? I don't actually understand what, like, does she have solutions to problems? Does she have any prescriptions?
about disproportionate. A disproportionate way that black people are
I'm just Hunter, thank you for smiling through this, man.
negatively affected.
Appreciate
If they're
you, buddy.
unable to even get a call in to do an initial interview, you can't use the how bad do you
You're
want the
making
job
it-
thing.
With all due respect, you're making black people sound very disabled right now.
You
and
are.
I'm
You're the
very
one.
What?
No,
upset
you
about
are.
that.
You realize
No,
that?
I'm
No, no,
trying
no.
to
I'm
uplift
saying that.
people,
No,
but
because
not
I'm
make
actually saying that there are
excuses for 'em.
systems in place that are disadvantaging black people, and you're saying, well, it's true that black people are disproportionately in these negative circumstances, but that's because they're just fucked up.
Yup.
That's what
No, no,
you're
no, no,
saying
no,
right
no,
now.
No, 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 I did not say that.
Oh my god, dude. She can't even I can't believe she is capable of saying no enough times to become annoying as well. Like, she she has a knack for being always just annoying. That's a skill, dude. It's like straight up, if you made a comedy show and one of the characters in the show was like a work or like a coworker that everybody just fucking hates all the time, you'd write this person. You would write Gothix as she is in reality to be the antagonist of your comedy TV show because she's so over the top annoying that she's like a caricature of a human. But she's real. There she is. This is her actual personality. That's wild shit, dude.
That I said, let's go with it. If you think this is the reality, if your reality
She's
is
got
black people
main characters that represent that, I don't know.
Have a disadvantage, what now? That is the point.
The character would also be named Vanessa. Fuck.
I told you.
What now?
First, we need to come to an agreement that that's actually a reality. And so far, we're not even able to get past that point.
Sure. Next.
Okay, great. So then we need to actually start looking at policy. So for example, Joe Biden's doing something I really agree with, which is investing $2.5 billion into a specific black community that was torn apart by a highway that was installed.
That's a really great policy that I didn't know existed.
This isn't a good example of systemic racism where, again, this was not anything that was intended to fuck over black people. It was just putting up a highway. But in doing so, they disproportionately negatively impacted black people, which makes it a system negatively impacting black people. That is systemic racism. And
yeah,
the way that we fix that is to further invest in those communities. Again, provide jobs, provide businesses.
Can you give me a more general, something more general, because that affects a very small percentage. I don't know how many people live near that bridge.
Highway?
So,
well, yeah, again, it's kind of the idea of investing in these communities and not just throwing money at them, not just giving everybody money, but rather investing in these communities. Like I brought up, incentivizing businesses to actually go in these communities, which would provide jobs.
Why don't we want investment in communities to provide jobs? Because I'm looking at her chat, and they're like, no, don't like that. It's like, but that's capitalism? Isn't that the answer? Isn't that the capitalist answer to communities struggling economically is to invest there and create jobs? Like that's always the answer, is create jobs, right? Am I missing something? How do you not agree with that as a capitalist?
I mean, I'm not a policymaker, so I have...
Yeah, and it's also a highway, not just a bridge, but yeah.
Have, like, some broad ideas.
By the way, was that bridge, was that the highway? There was, in the documentary High on the Hog, which I just rewatched. I got one more episode to watch again, but I just rewatched that with Sarah, actually. There was a highway running through that community, and it was a black community. Is it that same? I wonder if it's that same exact highway. I got a little publicity from that, and then one of the people that lived there, had like a garden and did a lot of food stuff in the community. I don't know. Interesting. I don't know if anybody knows about that.
Ideas and understandings of how
we
can ameliorate these flaws. But again, it's going to really come down to, first and foremost,
Fortunately, Hunter was wrong about the destruction of the black communities being unintentional. It happened all over the U.S. Well, it happened all over the U.S. recently? Because this specific highway, I'm pretty sure, was longer than just going through black communities, but, you know, eminent domains in poor communities usually. You know what I mean? So it would just, like, again, it's systemically racist, but I don't know that it was intentional. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know that someone goes, where can we make this highway? Look for the blackest neighborhood there is. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't seem like that's the case. It could be. Don't get me wrong. I think Steve Bannon could go to the Secretary of Transportation at the time, which was I don't know who the fuck that was. No one knows. Did they even have a Secretary of Transportation? And then be like, where are the black communities that we can pave over? You know what I mean? Did they do that? Because I don't know about that. Tore apart black communities on purpose? Well, okay, yes, in the past, but right now, because this recent one, it could be the case, but I don't think that's usually the case. Nor do I think that should be the argument any of you make, ever. It does disproportionately do it, though. Yeah, this is an example of unintentional but systemic racism. Yeah, because usually systemic racism is not like an intentional, pointed fuck you black people or fuck you Asian community or fuck you Hispanic community or whatever. It's not usually that. It can be, like, for instance, the Reagan thing, the crack, the Reagan crack, the war on drugs, all of that was actually definitely pointed. The assassination of Black Panther members pointed. The assassination of Martin Luther King pointed. But, you know, sometimes just eminent domain do that. So.
Have to be
it's not Black Wall Street. Yeah, this is, yeah.
willing to agree that this problem even exists.
Yeah, but Nixon doing that, this might shock you. Nixon's not the president. So this recent highway thing does not seem like pointed racist, we're going to drive pavement through their homes thing. It could be, but I don't think it is.
Okay, you didn't really give me any examples. I'm just going to say that. And I would hope that you would have those examples prepared.
Wait.
If you're telling me that my anecdotal evidence of my lived experiences don't mean anything, and you're telling me that we need to start changing things on a policy level, and you give me an example about some bridge somewhere.
It was a highway, and it was a specific example of where a policy was implemented that went right along the line of what I was advocating for in the broader community. That was a complete and total direct answer to your question.
Okay, and you're talking about going into these communities and
Dude, she does that voice when she's overwhelmed by someone else's intelligence. You're talking about, like, she get the pin. She sort of sounds like Eminem when he does his rippity raps. That's an awfully hot coffee pot. She sort of does that shit. Serena Williams. Stop me now. I'll just keep going. Please stop me.
investing. You're saying not to throw money at them, but investing, and you don't really know what that looks like. And the only thing that I can really go, I mean, that's what you're saying. You're not familiar with policies. You're saying go back into these communities and invest. But what is that going to do if we're not teaching people personal responsibility, like you said?
Again, we can also do that, but you asked me for a policy, and I already told you there's not going to be a personal responsibility policy. Another policy we could work on, too, is getting rid of the drug war. So we could decriminalize drugs.
Okay, we can decriminalize drugs, okay, but that's not going to stop people from taking the drugs.
Do we... Wait. Yeah, we know. What? What? What do you... Yeah. Yes. Wait, what do you think the drug war is about? Does she actually think the drug war is about getting people not to smoke the drugs, chat? Not to take big druggies? You know what actually is interesting? Due to many circumstances, heroin is actually less common, and so people are taking fentanyl instead, and they're dying from it more often due to a shortage of heroin. It's interesting, though. If you decriminalized heroin usage, decriminalized just drugs in general, what tends to happen in these situations, and this is statistics all around the world in places that decriminalize these drugs, and so this is the thing, Gothix, this is the answer to the question. What happens is you decriminalize these things so that people can, without the threat of legal recourse, seek treatment. It also helps to sort of stabilize the societal fracture between drug users and non-drug users, and that sort of like, you're a bad person if you smoke drugs, which clearly Gothix is doing right now. And then, of course, Medicare for All would fix that just entirely. People would still have overdoses and stuff, but it wouldn't be nearly as rampant, because a lot of the reason that people actually take drugs, especially the opiates and stuff, is because they're self-medicating for pain and things like that. Now, some people do it just recreationally, and that's a thing. But I also don't think that if you are for freedom, like a right-winger ought to be, if you're for freedom, you should be for the freedom for someone to live their life however they choose and to put whatever they want in their body, including a dick. But if they don't want a dick and they just want to do some heroin, that's fine too. Might be very refreshing. Maybe it's a good ass day and they want to do a little bit of I was gonna say H, and then I said hey instead of heroin. A little H. We're not talking about Lily Cade right now, but maybe eventually we're talking about something different now. But if you want to wait a little bit, yeah, maybe. Talk about something else, man. So pretty much what happens is if you decriminalize drugs, and you do it with in conjunction with healthcare, you can have a situation where drug use is destigmatized. You can have safe places for people to do drugs, like heroin hotels or things in some places in Europe that are very, very, they seem very effective. A place where people can learn to detox from these things and sort of wean themselves off of, the chemical dependency that opiates cause. But it's really hard to do that if the drug is illegal, because you can't really have it on you or be on it when you seek help, or there's some obligation to get police involved. You know what I mean? So people will not seek treatment, and it just is what it is. Not to mention, because we commodify survival necessities, it causes people that need to do drugs because they're chemically dependent on them. And it might be from a prescription. It often is from a prescription. It's not necessarily because they went out and were like, I want to do some heroin because I like drugs. Some people do. Most people, it's sort of happenstance. And it sort of escalates. I had friends in high school that died from oxy overdoses, which is an opiate. It's just one of those things where, yeah, they got into some hard stuff, but a lot of them could have benefited from a lack of stigma in the community about that to seek help, and instead they overdosed and puked on themselves and drowned in it. Like, it happens, man. And again, this is never going to do 100% fix it, but neither do seatbelts, and we should probably still wear those for crashes.
That's not.
I know it's not, but it's going to stop people getting arrested for taking the drugs, which is going to stop tearing up communities partially.
Yep.
And then also what that would do is it would cut out the need for gangs and drug cartels, which oftentimes, again, infiltrates these black communities since they're already disproportionately poor and more adversarial with the police.
Yep.
So there's various different policies that we can look at.
If you support cops, if you support cops, you should support decriminalization. I'm just talking about facts, okay?
You too, though, off the top of my head, so I don't think it's fair for you to say that I don't have any policies.
He did a good job.
Okay,
What, you disagree?
Oh, well, that was good. Thank you, Hunter. Thank you. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
What? It's so slimy, dude. I'm just gonna leave it at that. So slimy.
Okay. Well, there was someone else in the comments that said something I wanted to. That racism requires intent. No, it doesn't. That's why we differentiate between personal, interpersonal racism and systemic racism.
True.
So again, the way I define systemic racism is a system that negatively impacts a racial group disproportionately. So you could even argue that the welfare state is systemic racism because it wasn't supposed to be racist, but it it negatively impacted the black community. So that would be an example of quote unquote systemic racism from the Democrat side.
Okay. All right.
Can I talk to Stars, Don, really quickly?
You can talk. You guys want to duke it out? You want to get on here, Starsen? Do you think?
Because the main thing I had, Hunter, when you asked about snarkiness earlier,
you said I was emotional. That's what I wanted to ask you.
Yes, but I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna get to that with this point right here. You came into that debate ready to attack Gothix, whether you want to admit it or not. That was your aim. The first thing you did was talk down to her, demean her, and then misquote something in the debate. I'm going to get there. You have a habit of interrupting. Please do not. Here's what
Dude. Okay, how about this? Since Gothic is too much of a pussy to have a conversation with me, I just want this person to talk to me. Just the person that tried to be the fucking moderator. How about just you? How about that? Are either of you confident enough to have a one-on-one conversation? Let's do that part. I would love it. I'll take one or the other. That'd be dope. Literally, I've been here for 2 minutes. I can tell she's out of depth here. Oh, yeah, she's dumb. Email her? Fuck. Yeah, I'll just send her a fucking letter.
I will tell you. I looked up the information you gave. You gave wrong information on both. You played semantics, and you cherry-picked the information.
Which info?
The Mr. Potato Head. Mm-hmm. She was correct.
The Mr. Potato Head?
In the day, and I put them on there. You can go look. CNN and BBC both reported on it. Hasbro said point blank in the beginning they were getting rid of Mr. and Mr. That was their thing.
Mr. and Mr.
Mr. and Mrs. were going away for a more gender neutral. I provided screenshots.
Why do we care about Mr. Potato Head? Why are we talking about Mr. Potato Head shit? Pair up with Hunter and 2v2 them? We certainly don't need to pair up, but we can. I mean, We can't. There's no reason for that. That could be fun, I guess. I'd rather not talk to this star person who isn't smart at all.
And I provided the links on the initial tweet where she first saw you tweet about her. So that's
Hunter did just fine. Neither of us need each other's help here. Like, Hunter did just fine.
the first.
Wait. I need to respond to this.
I'm not done yet.
Please,
I'm
I need
not
to.
done yet.
Because
You have to wait. I know you're biting at the chomp, but you gotta wait.
You're biting at the chomp? Chomping at the bit.
Here's what I would tell you. Later in the day, after they saw the whole
Dude, Hunter, we got to get you a computer, brother. What's going on here?
whole backlash of where the money was going to come from,
We got to get you a little
"Hold
beefier
on,
machine.
guys. It's just the umbrella. We're not getting rid of Mr. and Mrs. The first initial thing they told everyone was, yeah, we're getting rid of it. We want everyone to be their most authentic self. We're going to have empty spuds with just 42 accessories, and that's how it's going to be.
How does she know the fucking accessory numbers?
Is that what they
And
said?
then afterwards, that is what they said. That is a direct quote from CNN. I have it up on there, and I can even put that little thing right up on here if you'd like.
So then it was
And
Gothix having old information, right? So
it was. That's what I was.
I mean,
gonna say.
I'm reading
That's
right
plain
here that they
semantics.
no, because what they wanted to do
Yes.
is it is becoming quote unquote gender neutral, I guess, if you want to say that. But they
Yeah,
still
that's what
kept
she
the
said.
Mr. and
And you said
Mrs.
she was wrong.
No, because
Yeah,
she
they
wait,
kept it
wait.
because it
She
was
did not.
Why are we talking about the potato head shit?
Her
I can't believe this
answer was just
devolved into potato head shit. Debatron, thanks for following. This is
No,
lame.
because she didn't just say, "Oh, well, they were changing this and that was it." It was that she said this was some queer theory
Because
or
Gothix
some
needs
like
a win. She didn't get a win. She doesn't have a win about the potato shit either.
indoctrination of children, and that also
And what
was
would
wrong.
you call gender neutral if not part of queer theory?
It's not indoctrinating children.
Wait. What? What would you call gender neutrality instead of queer theory? Have you ever seen like a gender neutral bathroom? They've had those forever. Are those part of queer theory? What the fuck? Wild shit. Why are we worried about this?
Case, it is when you start giving it as children's toys.
Children's toys. What? This is potato head? What? But they're not.
Well,
That is
it's
the literal
not because it's
definition of
named Mr.
indoctrination.
Potato Head and they kept the Mr. and Mrs. So
They did not until they realized the money wouldn't be there. And so that is my first point. The second point is you missed.
Are you okay? So are you? Let's say again, we're gonna steel man shit because we can actually think here. Are you mad that the capitalist company listened to people and then we're like, okay, we'll keep the Mr. and Mrs. characters, but we're just calling it Potato Head? Are you mad that they would acquiesce to such a thing? Because then you're still wrong. Like, you're still incorrect about the assertion that it's just non-binary shit. I don't really understand what this is.
Misrepresented the
Children's toys have genitals. That's right.
Dr. Seuss incident. That
Dr. Seuss. We're talking about Potato Head and Dr. Seuss. We're talking about Potato Head, Dr. Seuss. Dr. Potato Head Seuss's. Really?
actually initially started in 2017 when Melania Trump.
Melania? She can't even speak. This person doesn't even know words. I can't. So dumb, dude.
A mural to a library, and the librarian on staff looked the mural. I will admit, identified a few negligible things, and they were very racist for the time frame of now, but not when they came out.
well,
And
sure,
the-
yeah.
Yes, and then nothing was said about it, even though the company made no notice until it was financially good for them to do.
Yes. Why? Yeah. Yep. That's correct. Turns out the thing we did that was okay is no longer okay. So we're gonna not do that thing anymore. Yeah. That's just how things happen. You know, if there was no profit incentive, if we simply stopped commodifying Dr. Seuss books, they would have no monetary incentive to be PC wokies, would they? I would argue that communism has fewer wokies in it.
So that's my point.
Wait.
It's not that they initially realized it once Asian hate came out. They were brought up about it 4 years prior. And
I know.
it was
So I'm
10
aware that the
not
books had
one.
controversy like surrounding them at times, sure, but
Mhm.
Gothic's claim was that there was this mob that came out and then they changed it under pressure, and that is not what happened. There was
And
not
what
a,
it
there
was
was hold on, there
online
was some
backlash.
there was some controversy and backlash maybe at some point or another, but again, you said it initially started in 2017. There wasn't a lot of backlash, and then they changed it 3 years later. How is this mob like
Shit.
that? How is this
Because
mob
what she
cancel
talked
culture?
about was that one online. Whether it's a small mob or a large mob, you wanted her to identify a mob that you wanted her to pick up individual tweets. Yes.
No,
and my
I'm
point
not.
is-
I think that we're missing each other here, because that is not what I was asking her to do. She said that there was a mob that caused this to happen, and that was a result of cancel culture. And I was simply saying that's not the case. Maybe the books were controversial at a time. Of course, they did contain outdated imagery, but they said, the company, the foundation deliberately said that they consulted experts and teachers, and that's when they made the decision. And this just happened.
Yes, it happened, and your claim was they did it directly in relation to Asian hate. No, they waited till it was most profitable to do it. And my point is, Hunter.
How
the
do you
point
know
I'm getting
that?
at-
How do you know that they waited till
Because
it's most profitable?
You just look at
Because it's clearly obvious. And my point is this.
How do you know that? It's just obvious.
They came into the debate for overarching generalized themes about cultural appropriation, and you hyper-focused on two small issues, and you
can't get
focused
mad
on
at me
that
for
and-
calling out missing.
Yes, I can, when your entire purpose is to try to make her look stupid and you couldn't even quote it right.
Okay,
That
first
is
of
my
all, I
point.
did quote it. I read both the articles during the debate, and I just read it to you also. Second of all,
You read
I
that
didn't
there
get a
was
chance
never
to...
a point where it happened. There was never a point where it was gender neutral, and you even said she was wrong on it. So I want
I
you to
said that
say
she
right
was
here
wrong about it
not.
indoctrinating kids and being queer theory, and that it was actually they just got rid of the umbrella name Mr. Potato Head. It became neutral or whatever, and then they had a Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head.
This is the dumbest.
And also, there was another
is the
thing
dumbest
also I
fucking
wanted to
thing.
mention too that Gothix said, because Gothix mentioned that you wouldn't be a problem if they got rid of a book that was from the 50s that no one was really buying anymore. But that was literally then what you made the argument with the Dr. Seuss thing.
I never said that. I never
You said if
that.
they
You're the one that
canceled...
brought up Dr. Seuss.
No,
I said
you
that
said
that
if
book had not been purchased. I don't think any book.
You said if they canceled a book that was from the 40s that no one was reading, that wouldn't really be that big of a deal. And then you told me that the Dr. Seuss books didn't have any sales.
That's not what I said. I said my point.
We're done. We're done. I can't take any more of that. I want to see did they leave, and does Hunter have like a recap, or no? That's just the whole thing. All right, wait, does she fucking quit? Hold on, I want to see the end of this. We see the very end. Bree, thanks so much for the 34 months. Yeah, we're skipping to just right at the end.
Is to have conversations about systemic racism or LGBT acceptance. No, because when you come on here and say things like, oh, the Mr. Potato thing is a Marxist tactic, that just sounds like a fucking delusion at that point.
Yeah,
honestly.
True.
But either way, I appreciate the conversation. I'm sorry we weren't able to get to more common ground. Also, thanks Starson for the convo. Sorry that I've apparently become super emotional by consistently citing studies, but either way, yeah, I guess have a good rest of your time, guys.
You too, Hunter.
I'm gonna go talk to
too.
Karl Marx. See you.
All right, have fun.
Dude. I agree, Hunter. Holy fucking shit. She is just so... It's not just that she's dumb, right? Because she's definitely not capable of understanding what's being said. I mean, that's pretty clear. She's also intentionally, like, anytime she does get it, she intentionally obfuscates in fear of losing, any sort of financial support from her fan base. And then on top of that, of course, just her general unlikable personality is just really, really I don't know. I don't know how to describe. I think you all get it. I don't really know if there is a worse person to have a conversation with than Gothix. Like, she's just... Disagreement is just entirely untenable for her. She can't conceptualize a fucking thing. I feel like you could have a more productive conversation with the quartering. And Jeremy is an incredible piss baby. I don't know, dude. I mean, I'll still talk, but like, I don't know, man. I don't think there's any. You know how sometimes we see a person, we're like, you know what? I think there's a little nugget there, something that we can foster in somebody. I think we can, like Dave. We could save Dave. I don't think Gothix is capable of being intelligent enough to fucking get it, dude. No, Destiny's a smart guy. He's just a dick. Destiny gets stuff. He can conceptualize things. Destiny isn't stupid. Destiny is just a shitty person, which is bad too. She's not willing to step off the train track. She's not. I don't want to save Gothix to me. I mean, I don't either. I don't give a fuck. I'm just saying, like, you don't really find very often someone who is just so fucking dumb that they can't even engage with basic stuff. Like the idea of like, hey, Democrats can do systemically racist stuff too. Systemic racism exists. Here's an example of that. Do you agree or disagree? Like, she couldn't even like talk about the topic. She just said she didn't like it, right? Even the worst right-wingers that I've ever talked to, fucking actual justice warrior, Dev, although he would disagree that he's conservative. He certainly likes conservatives. Sargon even. I've had better conversations with Sargon of Akkad, who wanted to spend an hour on what is an American with me. Wild stuff. Instead of actually talking about topics before. I've had better conversations with all of these people than I think Hunter was able to have with Gothix. He did a good job, though. Wow. I'd love to see Destiny debate Gothix. Gothix would never do that. Are you kidding me? Ever. No, she's not capable of these things. And I don't know, the way that she talks about culture war shit is even worse. Wild stuff. All right, that's the end of that video.